Yeah. This year, we actually brought together 5 distinguished speakers and about 700 people, both online and in person, to celebrate the 250 years of American botany. Okay, yeah. I'll be fast, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to thank the symposium organizing committee led by Gary Kwaplick for organizing this event. And many colleagues have contributed to the effort in many ways, like Natalie Wimberly, who handled the travel paper for our speakers, Efren Tejada, Landon Ruff, for allowing us to use this curious facility while our built auditorium is under renovation now. And also last but not the least, that many volunteers for help with the registration tours and many other steps of putting together this symposium. Now it is my great pleasure to invite Dr. Rebecca Johnson, our C.W. Whitley Chief Scientist and Associate Director for Science of the National Museum of Natural History, to provide welcome remarks. Yeah, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, June. Good afternoon, everyone. As June mentioned, my name is Rebecca Johnson and I serve as the C.W. Whitney Chief Scientist and Associate Director for Science here at the museum. It is my pleasure on behalf... Oh, have we got a tech issue? We're good? Okay, thank you. It's my pleasure on behalf of the National Museum of Natural History to welcome you, all of you here in person, here in the Coralyn W. Whitney Curious Science Centre, but also to the many hundreds of you online who are able to join us to celebrate the 23rd National Botanical Symposium, American Botany 250 Years of Discovery. This event is a collaboration that we're incredibly proud to share with the National Museum of Natural History's Department of Botany, as June mentioned, but also with the United States Botanic Garden, led by Susan Pell, and we're going to hear from her very shortly. And of course, also Smithsonian Gardens, led by Joy Columbus. And unfortunately, I don't think Joy can be with us today. Together, these institutions represent the full arc of botanical science, from living collections through to public gardens and, of course, preserved specimens, all threaded together by frontier research. In my role, I have the privilege as one of several duties of overseeing this amazing group of people and the US National Herbarium and the exceptional team of scientists, collection staff who bring it to life every single day. Today's theme could not be more fitting or could not be more timely, as it invites us to reflect on 250 years of extraordinary botanical discovery, to look with curiosity about where it came from and where it is taking us next. The 18th century saw not only the founding of our nation, but the founding of American botany itself. A transformation from European explorers seeking plants for their foreign gardens into a homegrown tradition of botanists, horticulturalists, and explorers right here in the United States that were devoted to understanding the remarkable flora of this continent. The American government sent expeditions into an expanding frontier, returning with plants and often quite crucial indigenous knowledge that was critical to our understanding of them. And over the generations that followed, American botany became something so much deeper, a sustained effort to understand how plants shape and are shaped by processes such as evolution, our landscapes, our cultures, and our economy. That story is not without complexity, of course, from indigenous peoples managing land with fire to the loss of keystone species like the American chestnut. Our national flora has changed enormously as a result of land use and movement of people. changes with profound biological, cultural, and economic consequences. The speakers gathered here today reflect precisely that breadth and where we hope to go, offering perspectives on plants, biomes, histories, and explorations that will define botany into the future 250 years. At the US National Herbarium, we are incredibly proud stewards of one of the world's most significant collections of plant biodiversity. We have over 5 million specimens, including more than 115,000 type specimens, representing centuries of discovery and documentation. And as you've heard us mention in recent times at this symposium, we're incredibly proud to have achieved the milestone that would have seemed unimaginable to the botanist who collected much of this collection. We now have a fully digitized pressed plant collection, which is quite extraordinary. The millions of images and transcriptions that this has produced have unlocked our holdings for researchers around the globe, and enabling the study of biodiversity across time and space that is genuinely new. We're in a really exciting era. New plant species continue to be discovered almost daily right here in the United States. The environmental processes that make and shape our flora are increasingly understood through contributions like all of you in the room today. And things like big data, AI and machine learning, and emerging technologies are enabling us to ask entirely new questions of collections, launching, in a very real sense, a new kind of scientific expedition that builds on centuries of work while deploying the tools of the 21st century. Today, we will also honour that tradition of scientific excellence with the presentation of the José Cuatrecasas Medal for Excellence in Tropical Botany, named for a pioneering Smithsonian botanist who devoted his career to plant exploration and taxonomy. It's one of the many moments today that reminds us that this work is carried forward by people. And I'm also delighted that we are about to add 2 new people to our botany collection of incredible talent, because a job advertisement has just closed for 2 new curators, which is incredibly exciting for us here at the Smithsonian. So as you engage with today's program, I hope you will be moved not only to celebrate the history that we're talking about, but by the urgency and the opportunity of the work ahead. Our collections, whether in herbaria, living gardens, or digital platforms, have the power to connect communities, deepen our understanding of the natural world, and drive meaningful impact across science and society. Thank you all so much for being here and for the conversations and collaborations that will no doubt shape the next 250 years of plant science. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to welcome Jun back.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Yeah. So now let's please join me in welcoming Dr. Susan Pell to see, he's the Executive Director of the United States Botanical Garden, for remarks. Yeah, Susan.
Thank you, June. Thank you all for coming out today in person and also online. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the U.S. Botanic Garden. We are the oldest continuously operating public garden in the United States, having been established by Congress in 1820. At the core of our museum and Botanic Garden accreditations is our curated living plant collection, over 45,000 plants. The value of this collection is both in conservation and in education. We are preserving and expanding the unique germplasm held in our collection and using it to contribute to botanical research and engage the public about the diversity and importance of plants to people and the environment. We also advance plant conservation and plant science through a variety of partnerships. Let's see if I can. Woo. There we go. All right. Yay. Just slight delay. As you have seen today, this symposium is actually one of those partnerships. It's a partnership that we have with the National Museum of Natural History and Smithsonian Gardens, with whom we also established the North American Orchid Conservation Center in collaboration with the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center and also the National Zoo as well. Our science partnerships have national and global impacts. They identify gaps in conservation initiatives and ex situ living collections through data-driven analysis and assessments, and utilize the results of that information to prioritize collaborative work and identify opportunities where we can support the research and conservation efforts of other organizations and individual researchers. Our collaborations are helping to conserve native plants in the US, crop wild relatives, globally threatened species, and to bring imperiled species into cultivation. We partner with a variety of public gardens, educational institutions, and conservation organizations, including NatureServe, the Morton Arboretum, Atlanta Botanical Garden, Missouri Botanical Garden, Seed Savers Exchange, Pace University, American Public Gardens Association, and Botanic Gardens Conservation International. These collaborations are national and they're also global. But our collections are available to researchers. There's many researchers in our audience today, and I want to send an invitation to you to reach out to us. If we have some germplasm that might be of use for your research, ask us for it. We're happy to contribute to your research project using our living collection. And in some cases, our horticultural expertise. We have great partnerships where our horticulture team is working with scientists to advance knowledge of rare plants, conservation of rare plants, and propagation of them as well. So please reach out if you'd like to engage with us on that level. We also look forward to welcoming you to tonight's reception, where you'll see two exhibits that we have ongoing right now, one of which is on fierce flora, so some really fun things to explore in that gallery and the West Gallery. And then also we have an exhibit right now in celebration of America's 250th anniversary, where we are featuring every state and territory's official flower, both in a live form, in a beautiful artistic reproduction made out of paper. You'll see those in the entrance as you walk into the conservatory, and also in the reproduced herbarium specimens that you can flip through next to that art exhibit. So looking forward to welcoming you to the garden, and thanks so much for coming out today. And back to June.
Thanks, Susan. As Rebecca mentioned, each year at the Botanical Symposium, Smithsonian Botany awards a scientist for the José Cuatrecasas Medal for excellence in tropical botany. Usually, the chair of our awards committee, Nari Dor, would present the medal, but Nari cannot be here today. So now I invite Dr. Warren Wagner, research scientist and curator of botany, to introduce the recipient of the 23rd José Cuatrecasas Medal for Excellence in Tropical Botany. Coincidentally, Warren turns out to be the perfect person to introduce today's recipient. Warren, yeah. Wait, you are going to say what?
Thank you, June. Hello to everybody. It turns out, I guess I might be a reasonable person since I've known Dave for about, 40 years or so. We were neighbors, and now we're not, but we're collaborators. And I would like to start by mentioning one other thing about the Cuatrecasas Medal. We decided to name this award for José Cuatrecasas because he had worked in the Department of Botany for 50 years in various ways, and he did finish as he was winding down his major monograph on South American composites, and he and his family have helped our awards and grant endowments move forward, and so we're very happy to continue the tradition of keeping his memory alive by awarding an excellent botanist with the medal each year. David H. Lorence is the recipient of the 23rd, as June mentioned. Dave is noted for his contributions in systematics, floristics, and evolutionary studies of plants. He is currently a senior research botanist at the National Tropical Botanical Garden in Hawaii, on Kauai. And earlier in his tenure there, which started in 1987, he was director of science and conservation and curator of the herbarium. And I think he had various other titles over the years, but basically in those areas. Dave was born and raised in rural Wisconsin, where he first became intrigued with insects and collecting and documenting plants. I don't know the jump from there, but he eventually got his a BA in botany from the University of Wisconsin, which he followed by 6 years as a volunteer in Mauritius in the Peace Corps. Sorry, I'd forgotten that key part. He actually was a year in one aspect in the Peace Corps and then 5 years working in the Mauritius herbarium. And his work there in the field and the herbarium and collecting data, helped set the foundations for his very productive career in fieldwork, herbarium curation, teaching of lab techniques, and curation. When he began collecting then and throughout his career, he quickly begins to also do research involving the collections that are being made and using the herbarium. And that can be seen that when he was still in the Peace Corps, before finishing grad school, he published a number of papers on ferns of Mauritius and the Indian Ocean area. After he finished the 6 years in the Peace Corps, he was accepted at Washington University in St. Louis and the Missouri Botanical Garden Joint Program. His dissertation was on systematics and eco-evolutionary study of the Monimiaceae in the Malagasy region under the guidance of Al Gentry. After his PhD, he was hired as a curator of Herbaria Nacional, UNAM, in Mexico, where he was from 1980 to 1987. And during that time, he continued, active in the field and everything, and he began working on the large family Rubiaceae, where he has continued up to this day. In addition to his research activities, Dave's also very active in teaching and mentoring students, even as he started doing in the Peace Corps. And working especially with people in other countries when in those areas, in developing programs in conservation, horticulture, and herbarium curation. Dave has been a principal advisor to various graduate students interested in tropical plants, both when he was in Mexico City and continuing when he began his position in 1987 in Hawaii with an adjunct appointment at the University of Hawaii. And also through a grants program at National Tropical Botanical Garden, giving small grants to students who need guidance and help. He, if that wasn't enough, he also was a scientific editor for many years of the journal Allertonia and also of a number of books, such as The Flora of the Cook Islands and The Flora of Samoa, both the life work of two different people that produced these, 1,000-page comprehensive floras. His research, Dave's research specialties are systematics and floristics of tropical plants, but especially Pacific oceanic floras, Hawaii and the Marquesas and Micronesia, Neotropical Rubiaceae, and of course studies of the Indian Ocean floras, especially Monimiaceae and ferns. In addition to extensive field work in these areas, he's also done field work in Northern South America, Australia, New Zealand, New Caledonia, Indonesia, and Southeastern Asia, but hasn't had long careers in each of those areas. Lorence stands out among collections-based systematists for several reasons that I just want to conclude with. At every phase of his career, through extensive fieldwork collecting of specimens and data, including herbarium studies and curation, he soon would begin working on various research projects that often involve collaboration with students, and specialist in the area, the groups of plants that he was working on. These collaborations have now resulted in numerous publications. I think it's about 220 and counting, and including, I mentioned just a few of the really significant ones. One was his PhD thesis, Eco-Evolutionary Study of the Munimiaceae of the Malagasy region, for which he received the Jesse Greenman Award, which is given for the most excellent PhD thesis published in the prior year. That was 1986. And then his Rubiaceae treatment for Flora Mesoamericana with Charlotte Taylor. And I'm concluding this list with Flora of the Marquesas Islands, which took many precursor papers in 30 years and was co-authored with a guy named Wagner. And in addition, many other papers, he's published 198 new taxa, species and varieties and subspecies, and 100 additional new combinations to try and improve on classifications of other groups for various taxonomic studies. And with that, I would like to call Dave up to present him with this year's Cuatrecasas Medal. And I'll turn it over to Dave to make a few comments.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you. This is indeed a great honor to be the recipient of this prestigious medal. And I thank the Smithsonian Institution also for sponsoring the medal and flying me out here 4,800 miles from Kauai Island. And I'm glad to have my family, my wife Jeanette, and daughters Maria and Angela also in the audience tonight, this afternoon. But it's a lot of my success is due to my family, actually, the support from my wife and daughters over the years. I've dragged them around to many strange sounding places and faraway places with strange sounding names. And we were able to see many different places. And oh, there we go. Now you know my name. Also, thanks to the Missouri Botanical Garden and Washington University for their fellowship and for my PhD work. And also to my mentors along the way in various universities and places that I worked. Although my interest in plants and botany actually began as a boy with a 4-H club project, pressing the plants from our family farm in Wisconsin. My career was nurtured under many of these mentors that I mentioned, including Dr. John Thompson at the University of Wisconsin, the late Al Gentry, who was my thesis advisor, and also Peter Raven, who was on my dissertation committee. So thanks to all of them, I'm standing here today. And finally, I'd like to mention that we shouldn't forget the biological collections like herbaria and botanical gardens that are the foundation of our taxonomic work, our research and systematic research. They represent many cumulative years of field work, exploration, and collecting by biologists and explorers all over the world. And new species today continue to be discovered from these collections, and they may be the only remaining evidence of some now extinct species. I remember having described a couple of new species from Honduras, Rubiaceae, known only from the 1 or 2 collections, and they appear to be extinct in the wild. So these herbaria are very important. So we must continue to support and maintain these precious collections and make them available for future scientists over the years. And thank you again for this prestigious medal.
Okay, congratulations, Dave. Yeah. So in today's program, we'll feature 5 presentations from our invited speakers, and around 2:15 we'll have 2 breaks. At 2:15 we'll serve coffee in the Curious Lab area. If you don't drink coffee, prefer other refreshments, the cafe is right behind the Curious Education Center. Yeah. And at the end of the program today, we'll have a 30-minute panel discussion moderated by Dr. Susan Pell. And for folks online, you can ask questions through Q&A. You can also use the live closed captioning. And by the end of, after the symposium here in the museum, we're going to have a reception from 6 to 8 at the United States Botanical Garden, which is located right by the U.S. Capitol building. It's about 20 minutes walk along from the Constitution Avenue and then turn right toward the U.S. Botanical Garden. And so there we're going to feature the postal sessions from local students and postdocs. So I think without further ado, I'm going to invite Dr. Eric Schutterpelz, the curator of Barney, as well as the curator of the U.S. National Herbarium, to come to the podium to introduce our first speaker, Eric.